So, hi, I'm very pleased to be here with Bruce McIntyre from IMAS Corporate Finance to do a fireside chat, introduce him to the members and the members to him. So, Bruce, just give us a brief intro to IMAS and what you get up to.
Sure. So IMAS has been around since the 1990s. We specialise in advising owner-managers as well as corporates on within the financial services industry, in particular on M&A transactions and capital raising. Within the context of our broader work, we work in financial services. We've advised on over 200 transactions in financial services over recent years, of which over 100 of those are in insurance. So we feel like it's a very relevant, the Insurtech area.
And the mix between sort of traditional businesses and more tech-led businesses, is that something that you've seen emerging?
So actually, as time goes on over recent years, the tech piece has become increasingly a feature of the industry. So as the industry has increasingly sought to look for technology or technology-enabled solutions to help their customers, we have also followed that. So of those 100 or so transactions, it's a it's a growing part of what we're doing. So 10 years ago, pretty much very little. Today, there's a lot of work going on around that space.
Great. So what attracted you to join Insurtech UK?
So it's partly, as mentioned, the changes in the industry where tech and technology-enabled solutions is increasingly becoming part of the day-to-day. So that's one thing. So our clients are becoming more tech-focused. The other thing is the industry's investors and acquirers are also becoming increasingly focused on finding investment opportunities with a tech angle to it. So it's so the two.
So you're already starting to see Insurtech deal flow at your stage in investment, which is obviously a bit later stage, but in terms of the way you operate.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, we typically advise on M&A deals and capital raising, and on the capital raising side, we start at around the 5 million of capital raise level. We're happy to work with others on a sort of pro bono basis prior to that. But in terms of the actual deals that we're working on, yes, we've advised on a number of transactions. So let me give you a couple of examples. So there's an insurance broking platform that has been using social media platforms in quite a progressive way in order to both originate new customers, but also market to them and track them. And I think that's a good example of what you might describe as a legacy platform starting to introduce technology to differentiate itself. So that's at one end. And then the other example that's probably worth mentioning is we've also worked for an IoT insurance platform on a raise later in 2018, which actually then became an M&A transaction.
And is exit always the objective of the clients you work with, or are there other structures that you work with as well?
So it's a good question, John. So a lot of what we do is around optimizing terms for sellers of equity in the Insurtech space. So that could be an exit, but it could also be the sale of a minority stake. It could be a buyout backed by private equity. Or it could be just releasing cash. For some owners, they are still very much on a journey, but want a little bit of cash out to deal with a mortgage or something similar.
So obviously, not given the structures and the more institutional nature of the capital that you advise people to get access to.
Yeah.
Obviously, you're not in the classic VC space that perhaps startups might think about. But nevertheless, I know that you are very happy to help our members. So how can you see that you could add value perhaps to earlier stage companies as well? And then obviously once they mature, I guess that's when you're really interested in doing deals with them.
Yeah, no, absolutely. So to be clear, whilst a lot of our heritage is in M&A, and that continues to be our bread and butter, we do work in the venture space, and we will work. So I mentioned 5 million, or we work in earnest from Series B, but we will look at some Series A's. So depending on the stage, and obviously Series B, C, and on. So we will look at venture raise, albeit that that's within the context of a broader portfolio of work that we do with kind of the exit and M&A side as well.
And in terms of the sorts of help that you might be able to give as a member of our community in the Insurtech UK, how do you see that panning out for you?
Yeah, so ultimately we're looking to help our clients optimize terms. We're looking to help our clients think about preparing to go to market. So that's thinking about the 3-year plan that typically investors will be looking at, stress testing that, thinking about the sensitivities around that. We also help our clients think about who they need to be speaking to. And in fact, if they're already in discussions, are they the right parties? Because if there's one recurring theme that we see, it's that a lot of our clients spend a lot of time getting deals over the line, partly because they're not managing the process efficiently, but also partly because often they're speaking to the wrong parties. So there may be situations that we get involved in where we're coming in from the very start and we're introducing clients to potential investors or acquirers may already be at the table, and we help our clients to manage that, or indeed bring in other acquirers that can help to bring some tension into the process and optimize the terms.
So there's a lot around rigor of financial projections, but also the counterparty understanding their objectives and
correct,
and getting the right mutually beneficial proposition to the counterparty.
Absolutely, because actually optimizing terms is often down to the specific counterparties you're dealing with. So I'll give you an example. There's a deal we worked on in the broader fintech space where we're advising a client. They'd had an approach from a large private equity house, which was a reasonable offer, but we introduced them to an overseas acquirer, very, very strategic, and we doubled the offer value based on the specifics of that overseas acquirer. So that's often what we can do.
I think the strategic aspect and the strategic fit, particularly to an industry incumbent, is often a big driver of value for Insurtechs.
Yeah.
How does one optimize that? Because it does sometimes counter a little bit to the 3-year plan and the more, shall we say, bottom-up, pure revenue-driven
I mean, I think the 3-year plan is obviously always the starting point, and is always the core around which you begin discussions. Ultimately, synergies, if you're talking about strategic synergies, are often part of the discussions, but ultimately the core 3-year plan is always the starting point, and depending on the synergies available, you can negotiate.
So it's about multiples on top of whatever your plan recommends.
Exactly.
So how can members find out more and have interactions with you if they're excited and interested by what you've been saying today?
So firstly, I should mention that I'm joined, also there's a colleague of mine at IMAS Corporate Finance, a chap called Omar Al-Shakachi. So you can find our details on our website, imas for sugar.uk.com.
Thank you very much, Bruce, and thank you for being a member of our community.
Nice to talk to you today.
Thank you.